I'm Jessica Ann Bogart for Audio Story Time. Today's story is an odd mix of fan fiction and faux fiction, which is the opposite of fan fiction. The subject of this tug-of-war is Star Wars.
Welcome to
Audio
Story.
May the Force be clobbered!
Hello, I'm Rabadash, your narrator. Ocean wrote most of this, although any pro-Anakin stuff was still the Star Wars fangirls thing. It's a story that is only being included for the cringe factor. The characters who were recovered in this never show up again. Ocean was behind them being brought back, but as she and the fangirl had that falling out, this section is the only one where they make an appearance. What ends up being most important, of course, is Anakin again. I'll be inserting comments and rewrites when necessary. Part 7. Recoveries. The next morning, Sheev was the first one up, followed by Yoda and then Ben. They went to the dining room for breakfast and engaged in pleasant conversation until the next person arrived. To their surprise, it was Elf. "High is the tide this morning," Yoda kidded. "Ugh, not yet," she said. "Morning, all." She had her things packed and planned to head out, but not before meeting the girl Ben had rescued. Ben said she was still resting, and he didn't know when she'd be waking up and ready to meet anyone. Note: this and the reference to the rescue the night before had to be filled in later, because the fangirl had not mentioned the little girl at all until after this Recoveries section. She just suddenly plunked her into the story as a means of puffing up Anakin. So Ocean had to make mentions of her to explain why Elf ended up sticking around for one more night. End note. "Good news we have," said Yoda. "What's that?" the elf asked. "A celebration we will have tonight, and invited are you as a guest of honor." "Don't you think he should be the guest of honor instead?" the elf asked, indicating Sheev. "He is the new emperor after all." "Oh, that will come later," Sheev replied. "And I personally invite you all, and yes, that includes you too, Ocean." "Thank you, I'll be there," she responded, but looked unsure. "Oh, you are more than welcome," Sheev replied with a smile. "How's the little girl who was rescued last night?" Elf asked, noting her absence. "She's still sleeping," Ben answered. "If you can hang around for one more day, you should get to meet her tomorrow." Elf looked downcast for a moment, but nodded. "And there will be no training today, and anything Anakin may require, we will handle," said Ben. The elf scowled. "I will not stick around if I hear his name again." "You won't have to. His idea was a big mistake. We will keep you two apart from now on," Ben assured her. But Ben lied. Note: same battle of wills being played out. The fangirl did force Anakin into the center of things again. Ocean was trying to write Ben as finally being more considerate of other people here, but the Star Wars nut kept snowplowing over that to champion Anakin Vader. End note. "Thanks. I hope you mean that," said Elf. "You are welcome," Ben replied. "But since you have the day off and you worked so hard yesterday, why don't you get some more rest?" "I'll do that," said Elf. "But I'm not doing any more training." "That's done. So whether or not training picks up for anyone else later, I'm not part of it. I might practice what I've learned so far if there's nothing else to do around here, but that's it." She walked off, still refusing food that was offered. Time went on. Everyone was in a festive mood, and soon had banners and signs out in celebration to the end of the oppressive regime and a start to a new era of freedom. Or so they had hoped. Besides Elf, who was resting, the other conspicuous absence was Anakin. He remained in his chamber, and he did not welcome people checking in on him. He only came out occasionally to do what basically amounted to an "Are we there yet?" about his suit, which he really didn't need anymore, and wondering where Ocean Elf had got to. "She's in bed, Anakin," Ben told him. "When she gets up, tell me and give her a message for me." Ben nodded, but when he left, he decided to keep whatever Anakin said to himself. Later, when Elf was up again, Sheev invited her to accompany him on an afternoon outing. It was something he and Ben had planned for her. Anakin came out of his chamber. I thought I heard Ocean Elf up here. Yes, Sheev took her on an outing, said Ben. He seethed. Sheev and Elf gone out together? That would never do. Things were slipping away out of his control. Here, Ocean writes a small scene that, well, it's one of the more entertaining bits about Anakin. Feeling Anakin's urgent negativity through the Force, Ben asked, "Is something wrong?" Anakin made a good save with, "I can't wait to get out of this suit." "I know, Anakin, I know," Ben said. "But Luke said you were already healed last night, so you shouldn't still be needing it." "I'm not healing as well since Elf hates me." "Anakin, this is not going to make her change her mind," Ben said. "I warned you to prepare yourself for the worst." What an overgrown, self-centered brat! Now a scene change. When they were somewhere out of town, Sheev picked a place to rest and made a request. "Can you show me an ocean wave?" The elf looked puzzled, then suspicious. "You brought me out here just for that? Who told you I could wave anyway?" "Ben told me. He heard." Sheev paused, trying to think of a way to say it without making the elf angry. "When you were abducted to Tatooine, you drenched your kidnapper with a wave. I guess everyone knows everything about every move I've made since arriving on this planet now," the elf said bitterly. "And there's the fact you waved Sidious Palpatine out. More like Palpadroid," Elf said. "I don't like this. Back where I come from, there's this thing called privacy. Please don't be alarmed. They are very impressed with you," the new Emperor said. She scoffed. "Please. One wave? What could it hurt out here? And no one is listening or monitoring you, I promise." Sheev appealed. After a few moments of silent consideration, the elf finally said, "I suppose, but why?" "Oh, you won't regret if you do, believe me," he said. "I just hope you won't either," she countered. "I'll try not to splash you. If you can manage to make it go a certain direction," he said. She nodded. "How about over there?" he suggested, indicating with a gesture where he wanted the wave to go. "Okay," she said doubtfully. "Here is a lightsaber," Sheev said, handing it to the elf. "While you're waving, could you activate the lightsaber and shine its light into the wave?" "Sure," she said, looking even more confused. To the elf's surprise, wherever the new Emperor had taken her must have had some strange properties, because the soft glow of the lightsaber turned into shimmering blue light that swirled throughout the wave until it passed and faded away. Then, from a distance, a lone figure haltingly approached, and as it came closer, it was revealed to be an older woman with a kindly but sad and bewildered face. When all company introduced themselves to her, and she to them, the elf suddenly burst into tears and embraced her. Emperor Sheev Alderaan looked on with his own eyes misting over. Eventually the party of 2 that had left the compound returned as a party of 3. Only the elf and the older woman remained in Sheev's vehicle while he went inside to call everyone together for a special meeting. Once everyone was assembled, Sheev said he and Ocean Elf had a surprise for them. He excused himself, saying he would be right back. There were a few minutes of waiting, and then Sheev returned and closed the door. "Good afternoon." Sheev began. "Thank you for coming, everyone. Now I'm going to tell you a story." The room went completely silent, and the cringe factor rose exponentially. "Oh, Ocean, how did you manage to survive writing this goop?" "Once, there was a small child and his mother who were once very close but living in hard times. Eventually, he grew up and went away. One day, she was kidnapped and went through unspeakable things. Her son found her on the brink of death and held her in his arms until the very end. Or so it was believed to be the end. What no one realized was the Force was with him. His love combined with the Force did not let her die, but put her in a state of suspended animation for many years until this afternoon, when the Force once combined with a wave of passion to awaken her and give her a new lease on life."
Oh, I honestly don't know how I survived doing that. Vader's Force keeping her alive all this time? Ugh.
Want to do a rewrite?
Yes, and this time I'm not going to be coddling the fangirl and crediting Vader with anything he doesn't deserve to be credited for.
Once there was a mother and child who went away from her at a young age. In the meantime, she was kidnapped and nearly killed. When he reached her, it was too late, and she died in his arms. Or so it seemed. There was something in the properties where she died that was stronger than the Force, and put her in suspended animation instead of death. She remained in this state for many years, until this afternoon. She was discovered by the new Emperor, who with his own magic and the help of an ocean elf, awakened and given a new lease on life.
Shmi's violent death always bothered me, and I always wanted to bring her back. But giving Vader the credit? Ugh, yeah, that was gag-worthy.
During their roleplay beyond this story, Emperor Sheev Alderaan revived other people from suspended animation too, who had nothing to do with Anakin Vader. Alright, carrying on. On cue, Ocean Elf entered along with an older woman. Sheev continued, "Here is your mother and grandmother, Shmi!" Sheev made sure not to exclude Luke and Leia, who'd never met their grandmother. At this, everyone rushed forward to embrace Shmi. Elf looked on with tears streaming down her face. Then Anakin Vader, not to be outshone, took center stage to show how he had healed. His suit fell away, replaced by a normal one. But unlike the others, he did not take Shmi in a warm embrace, even when she reached out to him once everyone had moved off. She hugged him and shed some tears, but he only returned her affection with a very stiff, partial hug, looking extremely uncomfortable as he did so. When he moved off, Shmi appeared confused and hurt. The elf looked sadly at Shmi, then scowled at Anakin. Despite this awkward moment, the celebration carried on with so much merrymaking late into the night. The end of Palpatine in this form had brought about such wonderful miracles along with freedom, and they all lived happily ever after. Not so much. If Ocean hadn't come up with the Shmi subplot, the Anakin nut would have had that whole section focusing on Anakin and his suit, having everyone falling all over themselves just to celebrate the healing and the changing of the freaking suit. The fangirl threw her created poor little blind girl into the story as another tactic to keep Ocean from quitting and to also try to give glory to Anakin Vader. There were other things that happened, with more people being awakened from suspended animation, which would have been great were it not for the way things eventually ended up. As for Shmi, she does really die soon after. We're not sure if it was just her time, or her finding out what all her charming son did, and the heartache killed her. But there is no sense keeping her around, since Ocean has no intention of writing any more Star Wars stories other than all-out faux fiction when necessary. During their role-playing and story writing without Anakin, and when the blind girl took his place at the center of everything, Ocean was very loving toward Shmi, who reciprocated. But the fangirl ignored Shmi and Leia, and had the main plot being about her blind girl's hellish past abuse by a crazy uncle. Even when after he'd been dealt with, she still insisted on bringing up the girl's abuse, rolling back time, and re-injuring her hand that had once been broken physically, then again by the Force. Even when Ocean had the girl mended and healed, that wasn't satisfactory. The pain-fascinated fangirl kept making up scenarios where the girl's hand showed signs of being re-crippled and in pain. She did the same thing with Yoda and his arthritis. The roleplays and story, once Anakin had exited, was supposed to be fun. It wasn't. It dragged Ocean's spirits down. Ocean never wanted a child abuse plot. She felt obligated to compromise and give in, since the Star Wars nut was desperate enough to drop the Anakin fangirling stuff just to keep Ocean doing Star Wars with her. The child is going to get a much different story when this one wraps up. No crazy uncle, no broken hand, no going on and on about an abusive past that didn't happen, but that's for an upcoming section. Next, Anakin and his sycophants take their sickening and absurd agenda to new heights.